What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Getting Buzzed. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me by my side, you know him, you love him, Ryan Hallam. What is up, Ryan? How's the week been for you?
Week's been all right, man. We're just chugging away. Baseball season. We're almost, almost 2.5 months in. My teams are doing okay. Not too bad. My own team is kind of going in the toilet now. The Cardinals are kind of tail spinning, but things are not too bad.
Not too. See, I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I thought you were going to talk about that lame ass Final Four of yours for your ice cream brackets, dude.
Again, Cookie Dough turned out to win. I thought that's who I thought was going to win from the start. So
at least it wasn't cookies and cream.
Yeah, Cookie Dough and Chocolate was the final. I thought that was about what I expected. The Vanilla family certainly fared much better than I ever thought it would. But you can't blame me. I don't vote. I just put these things together.
Dude, that's John and Pemba ballot box stuffing on a regular basis, dude. And you didn't discipline him. You didn't catch him in the act. You didn't call him out on Twitter for like screwing over your brackets by ballot box stuff in there. Vanilla bean. Give me some French vanilla.
The funny thing is, once I did a TV one, and there was like Mr. Robot was in it, and some Mr. Robot fan account found it and just destroyed the whole, like, every single poll was like, Mr. Robot, 542 votes, anything else 2. And it just kind of ruined the entire thing. It's never happened again since. Like, I tried. Like, when I did the fast food thing, I tried to tag Wendy's because, like, their social media just, like, takes everyone apart. But that hasn't caught on. But in a way, I'm kind of happy because, yeah, the one time something caught on like that, it totally ruined it. But I have another one brewing, Howard. It's going to be a new tournament we'll be dropping sometime within the next week.
I want to know. Ooh, in the next week.
Probably by this weekend. I'm just trying to put it together. This one's been really, really tough for me to seed. So I've been pouring over it for a couple days.
Pouring over it? Did you just say? Is that a hint?
Yeah,
that you just gave?
Top 64 porn. That's what it is. Yeah, you know it.
Number one seed. Yank my doodle. It's a dandy.
There you go. Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to give spoilers.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
All right.
We'll check back next week and we'll see if it drops then. If not, then we'll wait till the week after. This show's not going anywhere. We're gonna still do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My head was like, all right, let's keep going down the porn avenue, and then I was like, no, let's detour back.
Yeah, let's bring it back here to a little bit of normal world here, right? But I'll drink the porn. I definitely will.
Absolutely, always.
I'm a big fan. I am a big fan. We got a great show for you here tonight. Obviously, Ryan and I, we're going to sit and talk about stuff that's going on in the news around sports. We got a beautiful top 10 list. Diving deep into the psyche of Howard Bender for at least 10 possible suggestions there. We're being joined later on by Steve Rapin from Fighting Chance Fantasies, good friend of yours, Rye. You guys do the, he's running the site right now while you're doing full-time Fantasy Alarm and Fanjections and working that out. But you've known Steve for a while. How long have you known him for?
God, it's got to be closing in on probably 7-8 years. He'll probably come on and tell you something more exact and call me an idiot, but it's been quite a while. Yeah, we ran that site together for a number of years, built it up so we had a staff of like 11 or 12 before I got called back home to Fantasy Alarm, but they're still doing a good job over there. They brought in a bunch of new people doing different. They got a soccer guy, basketball, of course, football and baseball. So Fighting Chance Fantasy still doing me proud, even though I'm not there anymore.
It's okay. It's all right. You're technically not like in modern day Fantasy Alarm time anyway because of that shirt.
I like to do the retro. I mean,
that shirt is at least 10 years old, is it not?
Easy. Oh, easy, yeah. I mean, I'm proud of the fact that I was there when it first started. I've been holding on to these things for a long time, man. To see what Fantasy Alarm has become from when Jeff Mans and I started it's something that's very humbling to see and something I'm very proud to have been on the ground floor of.
I think what's more impressive is the fact that you fit into the same shirt from 10 years ago.
They must have sent me one that's just really big because I certainly am not the same size.
I don't fit into a shirt I bought last week, right? Scott Fishbowl shirts came out, right? I ordered the entire spring line.
Did you?
Right? All in a size way too large that I'm embarrassed to say. Like that kind of a thing. I'm even look, you see,
See,
I
you
did
bought
that last year, and these are a little tight right now. These are a little tight. So I'm gonna have to like do something about that. I'm gonna have to get my fat ass like to the gym. Anyway, Steve Rapin's gonna join us here. We're gonna play a game with him. I won't give that away yet. But yeah, lots to talk about with him for sure. So before we jump into everything, I gotta plug the NFL Draft Guide. I gotta do it, right? I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and like sound like an an infomercial. I'm just gonna say this. All right, we busted our balls and our butts, and for the ladies who work for the company, their ovaries too, right? We're all busting it for getting all this done and getting all this work in there. And the draft guide looks phenomenal. Like the new look site looks fantastic. New look draft guide looks even better. And I'm super excited about so many of the different features. I will say that by the time this episode drops, you'll have already been able to read Andrew Cooper's Winning the Scott Fish Bowl. That drops on Friday during the daytime. Super pumped about this article. Super pumped about all the content. Ryan's going to be doing stuff. I'm going to be doing stuff. I've already got the rookies, sleepers, and busts out there. My favorite article to do every year, Know Your League Rules. That's in there because how many idiots out there don't know their league rules and don't read. See, are you that guy? Are you that guy who, like, in the third round, you're like, is this PPR?
I mean, I think I know if it's PPR or not because I generally ask that when I join the league. But I'm generally just like, hey, we'll just go for it and see what happens.
So, are you one of those guys who pisses and moans when, like, all of a sudden you realize in like week 13 that you have no shot, even though you got a better record than these other two guys who've outscored you by at least 150 points? And you're like, wow, I got a better record than they do. I should be in the playoffs.
I mean, not publicly, but in my head, I'm like, who's this asshole commissioner? I should be in there. I don't know what the hell he's thinking about, stupid ass. But I don't say that out loud. I try to keep that internally or make my dog listen to it because, they have to hear all my problems. But I'm not somebody who's going to blast the commissioner because I didn't read the rules. But yeah, the league rules are kind of are parallel to each other.
All right. Well, see, here you go.
I have to read the article. That's what I'll have to do.
Don't be a do as I say, do as I do type guy, right? Or do as I say, don't do as I do. Whatever the case may be. Ryan's not the model citizen here. Read your freaking rules. Know them back and forth before you get into your draft. I'm telling you, man, if you don't do it, it's a huge, huge mistake. But anyway, NFL Draft Guide, wicked awesome. FantasyAlarm.com/draft now. Use the promo code draft now, one word. All right, and that gets you 20% off. It's like under $16, which I find a little insulting, to be honest with you, because the amount of time and energy that I put into this thing, right, already, right, and we're only selling it for like $16. They can get it for fewer than $16. It's like, what the fuck is that? Oh, I'm not even supposed to drop F-bombs here, right?
No.
Oh, well.
That's that's ridiculous. That's like what, 3 coffees now that you can have. Like I don't drink coffee, but I think like Starbucks, they're like $6 a piece now. But yeah, the ultimate way to start your league off, with a leg up on your league mates is just our draft guide. I know I'm doing the Superflex article. I think that's in a couple weeks. But yeah, it's like a laundry list this long of different things in there. So for $16, for God's sakes, people, just do it.
It's ridiculous. It really is. I mean, listen, the ultimate cheat sheet that I do is worth the $15 price of admission right there. So in any event, FantasyAlarm.com/draft now. Promo code draft now. Let's get to it, baby. Let's talk about what's in the news. All right. Well, Ryan, the big story around everything right now, cheating scandal in MLB. And this like comes at multiple levels, right? Because you got Trevor Bauer, who like criticizes people for cheating, but then ends up cheating himself, and then ends up like bitching the league for not letting him cheat, and you get all this other nonsense in there. And then you've got Tyler Glass now, who says I cheat, and you guys then told me I couldn't cheat anymore, and so now I'm hurt because you're not letting me cheat again, and now I don't get a Cy Young, and I could end up with Tommy John surgery, all because you guys won't let me cheat. I mean, there's so many levels to this whole thing. I don't even know where you stand on it. Whose side are you on? What do you favor? What don't you favor?
I mean, I feel like every week we talk about this on the show. Like, baseball's so bad this year that every week we're talking about some sort of scandal in the sport, which I guess all publicity is good publicity, but like every week it's something bad that we talk about with baseball. Tyler Glass now, I've never heard anyone say, you did me wrong because I can't cheat anymore. Like, that's the most, like, it's like a criminal be like, oh, man, I got caught because you won't let me rob the bank anymore. That's basically what he said. And it doesn't make any sense. And first of all, so the stuff on his finger stopped his elbow from getting, like, I don't even understand. Or his forearm, like, I don't understand how.
He's holding the ball differently right now, and he's, and yeah, that's apparently what it is that's kind of affecting. We could sing the song, right? The wrist bone's connected to the forearm bone. The forearm bone's connected to the elbow. The elbow's connected to the humerus. If I want to get technical.
In your leg, I'm not sure. But anyway, I just don't. I think the pitchers feel like kind of entitled because of the whole steroid thing. So like, well, they cheated, so we get to cheat. Like, I don't understand what's going on in baseball. It's really bad, though. I do know that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with baseball cracking down on it. At some point, maybe in our lives, we might see actual baseball, without someone getting a leg up, but probably not. Like I've said before, I think everyone's cheating. It's just a matter of how, whether it's stealing signs or sticky stuff or steroids or uppers or whatever. Everyone's always trying to get a leg up. That's honestly life. Everybody in every form of life is usually trying to get a leg up somewhere. So whether it's someone siphoning out of a cash drawer at the local gas station or whatever, like, unfortunately, that's the kind of the world we live in now.
You came up with that example pretty quick, Ryan. Is there something that we need to know about, maybe a summer job that you had when you were a kid growing up?
No. I did own a convenience store growing up, so maybe I did try to, I did the little deep pockets on my own parents' money.
You were like stealing Necco wafers. Cut it out. You weren't stealing them.
Swedish fish. We had Swedish fish. It came in like a box of. It's so disgusting now. And the kids would be like a penny. Like, I want 50, and just go, put your big disgusting hand in there and count 50 into a paper bag. And like, I don't know how. Probably every kid didn't get sick. So I'd probably making a sandwich and slicing a tomato and then sticking my hand in the Swedish fish.
You remember the good old days when you didn't have to wash your hands and wear gloves and and like in the food prep business.
I remember that very well. I remember when it started too. I remember that it started like right before we got out. We're like, gloves, we're out, we're done, goodbye.
Right? No way. If we have to start buying latex gloves and spending more money on that, we're out. All right. So you think basically that these pitchers need to shut the hell up and just kind of take their punishment, stop using stuff, and whatever.
I'm a little pissed off because I really focused on pitching in my drafts this year. So if this is going to like go to hell now in like the middle of June and now all the hitting is going to be, I'm going to be pretty pissed off because I really made a conscious effort to focus on pitching this year.
Hell in a handbasket, dude. Yeah, it's bad. Well, I had DeGrom and Glasnow on one team, right? And I know that everybody's like, well, DeGrom's fine, right? Nothing showed up on the MRI. Listen, you don't get pulled out of back-to-back games saying that you don't feel right. I don't give a shit if the doctor catches it, doesn't catch it. I don't care if the MRI comes out clean. Rest this guy. Let him skip a couple of starts.
This is like the fourth time he's been pulled out of a game, and he just keeps coming back. It's gonna go, like you said, it's gonna go all to hell real fast. Like one time, and he's gonna be done. And that's gonna sucks because he's having a legendary season. I don't think there's anything wrong with sitting him for a couple weeks and having him come back. But you're right. One of these times, it's just not going to just be okay.
No, I mean, listen, and I've had this conversation. I spoke to Jim Bowden on the Fantasy Alarm Show. Spoke to Adam Ronis on the Ante Up podcast, and it's like, would you trade DeGrom if you had him right now? Would you think somebody would give you a reasonable enough offer for you to want to trade him, or do you just say no? It's DeGrom. I gotta hold him. And then you run the risk of holding the bag at the end when his arm falls off.
I was thinking about this in the shower today. I was watching. I was like, oh, Howard Bender. And I was thinking, like, as I wanted to bring this up, even if he was okay, even if he was okay, like, do you sell high? Like, he can't keep this 0.5 ERA. Like, he's driven in more runs than he's given up. Like, it's got to even out a little bit. Assuming he's okay, would you even try to sell high, or you just like ride this legendary season out?
I'm torn.
Right? It's so hard.
I'm really torn. It depends on the offer that comes my way. Like, if somebody came to me with like Carlos Rodon and Nick Castellanos, right? I'd have to give that some serious thought. Now there's the question of whether or not Rodon can keep going like that, or how about if somebody comes to you with like, Brandon Woodruff and Bryce Harper, then you're like, ooh.
You probably got to do that.
Bryce gets a little banged up, here and there. There's similar risk kind of a thing. I'm really torn. And to me, it really depends on the offer that comes my way. And I don't even want to, like, I've been forcing everybody else into speculating about it. Like, what would you take? What would it take for you to make that deal? And meanwhile, I'm like sitting there huddled in a corner. I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. So, we'll see what happens if the opportunity presents itself. I do have one guy in one league who I know is a notorious Mets fan, but I mean, he made me such an insane lowball offer the first time with DeGrom that and I said to him, I'm like, dude, this is literally the worst offer you could have probably made. I'm looking at your roster right now, and there's not a single player who I think is worse than this pile of junk that you just offered me for Jacob DeGrom. So he might be afraid of me for making that happen.
I hate that. I hate the person who's like, oh, just a starting offer. Don't start with garbage. At least start with something reasonable. But so, I mean, anyone who's watching, like, if you've gotten an offer to DeGrom or if you traded DeGrom, hit us on Twitter, RotoBuzzGuy and Fighting Chance. I'd love to see, like, if offers and trades are happening with DeGrom, because I don't have him at all, but I'd be fascinated to see what's going on out there.
Somebody actually called the show and said he was offered Vladimir Guerrero Jr. straight up for DeGrom.
It depends on your pitching depth there, but it's certainly, he's threatening for the Triple Crown. So if you have the pitching depth to withstand that loss, I think that's absolutely something you'd have to at least at worst consider.
That's what I said. I got the more information from him. I'm like, your staff is solid enough that you could do this. Not to mention the fact it was a keeper league. So if you're giving me the option of keeping Vladdy Jr.,
yeah, I like that.
Eat that up all day. All right. So really, that's kind of what's going on in the news. I don't want to talk basketball because the NBA is nauseating. Although MLB and NBA, they're going to have like a really nice parallel because it's going to be whichever team is the healthiest by the end of it all is going to end up being your champion. So we can do with that. But I'm more inclined, though, to head to our top 10 list because this is something I'm really excited about. Yeah, that's right. It's time for the Getting Buzzed Top 10. Well, Ryan, here you go, man. I put in a lot of thought. No, you know what? I got to be honest with you. I didn't put any thought into this whatsoever. I was going about my day, and the same shitstorm just piling up on me. Blah, 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 blah. It was like aggravating beyond belief that when people talk to you, like, that like you've like sat there and somebody comes over and they start talking to you and you really don't want to talk to them. You don't want to deal with them. And so like you sit there and then all of a sudden you start mind murdering them, right? You just start picturing different ways that you would kill this person. Now, I'm not saying that you actually do it, and I'm not going to be promoting that on the show here. You do it with your mind. It's just, it helps put it at ease. It helps make it a little bit more tolerable when this person with diarrhea of the mouth is just spewing nonsense at you, and then you just, you're kind of like, yeah, okay. So for me, it was top 10 ways to mind murder somebody. So I'm
Never
in on
saw this
this one
coming,
here.
by the way. And
What's that?
never in a million years when I opened the email, is this what I expected the top 10 list to be? I loved it instantly, but I never saw this one coming. So this is fantastic because I love horror movies. So this is awesome. And everyone's had that situation where you're just like, shut up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, go for it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's kick it off here. My old number one was very tongue in cheek, so we've decided to make a last minute replacement here. And of course, our producer Matt Sells, who's diligently typing away and helping us out on that end, is like, "You sons of bitches, why are you changing this on me?" But we're going to, and here it comes. Ryan, you gave us a new number 10. First way to mind murder somebody is.
Good old dismemberment, man. Who doesn't like to just not only murder someone, but like cut their bodies into little pieces to have mementos and maybe, try to put back together with maybe pieces of other people who also pissed you off. So dismemberment, I thought, was a very fun number 10.
It's a good way to dispose of the body, too. You can wrap the individual parts up and you can kind of spread them around a little bit as well. So that way, if something does happen, well, they're like, shit, we got this like, left foot. I don't know what to do with it here. How do we identify who this person is?
We can also call it Dahmering someone.
We could call it Dahmerism.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Just stuff it into your freezer, have it for a snack later on, right?
Who doesn't like a good fit foot?
Number 10, I've had conversations with people and they just drive me nuts. And all I do is sit there and think about, man, wouldn't it be cool if we were standing in front of a wood chipper right now and I shoved this person into a wood chipper, right? The body goes in, dices them up. You see the expression on the person's face, like they're like, what just happened here? And they just kind of disappear into nothing, into a little pink mist, and there they go. They're gone. It's a wood chipper.
What do you think their last thought is? Am I in a wood chipper? I was like, my first question was going to be, do you go head first or feet first? But clearly you want the reaction of them really.
Have to be able to see the expression on the face as they're going in. Absolutely. Ass in first of the wood chipper. Let it start dicing you up like that.
Steve Buscemi in Fargo approves of this message.
There you go. Would you like to do the honors for the next one?
Number 8 is going to be, this is a good old-fashioned one, and that's just stabbing the shit out of somebody until they die. So, I think this is probably the best one for frustration. Yeah, because you can really just, why don't you shut up? And just really get that one out. So, good old-fashioned stabbings, number 8.
Yeah. I love a good old-fashioned stabbing as well. Yeah, you do. You get that extra energy out. Now, if you want to get a little bit more personal, right, then you don't have an actual weapon in between you. And coming in at number 7, just good old strangulation, right? You're squeezing the neck super tight. You're kind of pushing the thumbs in on the windpipe there. Maybe you hear it crunch a little bit, that you've like broken something inside the trachea, right? Like maybe that's kind of what happens. But yeah, there's a good old fashioned strangulation, especially when it's like, like your mom's friend who you just don't want to hear another story about how awesome her son is and how great he is to talk. Have I talked to you about my son, Adam? My son, Adam, is a genius. And as that's happening, you're like, my son, Adam.
It's definitely the most personal.
Yeah.
And cold-blooded of the options, I would say.
No doubt. Go ahead. Hit us with number 6.
Number 6 would be, this is for you passive-aggressive people out there. This is poisoning the food for a slow death. This is for you who don't really have the guts to go ahead for the stabbing or the strangulation. You can't, kill face-to-face. That's, you always see in the movies a little rat poison. They always stick into the food. So poisoning the food for a slow death is a classic number 6.
I like it. Slow death, kind of nice too, right? Like you you don't like this person. So to drag it out, make them suffer a little bit, like they don't know what's wrong with them. They're
Usually foaming at the mouth and gasping
what's
for
wrong
air.
with me? What's wrong? Why am I coughing up blood? Yeah. Which now, if you want to get really crazy, you want to go psychopathic crazy, then you lock them in a cage and you just starve them to death, right? Like, I mean, that takes an exceptionally long time. You have to invest in a lot of duct tape around the face and kind of bind their hands so that they can't scream out to anybody, but just leave them in there for, I don't know, 60 days with no food, no water whatsoever, and then check up on them and then just say, all right, well, let's check up on you again in another month. It's like that in the movie Seven, right?
That's exactly where I was going.
In the bed, he's like,
scared the life out of me when I saw that. Or the that show You. Have you ever watched that with like the guy who's like a stalker? He was big on like a big glass case that was kidnapping people. If you haven't seen that. You haven't seen You? Oh, dude, watch You. That's a good show.
All right. I'll definitely check it out.
All right,
Anything about murdering people seems to suit me.
Number 4 is a good old-fashioned gun to the head, which, I think is kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing. You just walk right up and you just do quick, and, just see, again, you just see the kind of life go out of the eyes as they kind of keel over and then, bleed out from the head. But that's an American classic, the gun to the head.
Gun to the head. Absolutely. Absolutely. Joe Pesci in Goodfellas, right? He walks in.
Now, do you go back of the head, temple, mouth? Like, what would be the preferred?
The problem with going in the mouth is that if this person is struggling at all, you could end up like shooting it out the side of their face, and you don't actually kill. I mean, then you got to waste another bullet. If you go like this, then there's also a chance, I think, that like, something happens where it kind of like doesn't kill you instantly, and you got to get another shot in there. Some with the temple and whatnot. And under the chin's good though. Under the chin's pretty good. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. All right, number 3, another personal one, right? Another one that makes you feel good. Smother their face with a pillow. Just sit there and hold it down. Listen to
this one, I think, tends to go with the older crowd who can't fight back as much. So if it's an older person, I think the smothering with the pillow is the best. Because grandma's friend or whatever can't really fight back and overpower you.
That is true.
Number 2, this one's a little tough to pull off. You have to be in the right place at the right time. But there's nothing wrong with just pushing someone off a cliff. I mean, It's kind of the best way. It really doesn't leave any evidence. I mean, they're not going to find your handprints on the clothes. They can't, obviously the person will be dead, so they can't, tell on you. Maybe there's some rocks on the way down the cliff to really, mess up the body. They might have to get, dental records. So this one's a little more for maybe you coastal people with cliffs or whatever, probably more West Coast than East Coast, but pushing someone off a damn cliff, I think, is a pretty good way to kill them.
All right. Well, and the number 1 way to mind murder somebody, and this is why, listen, again, just good old solid. Again, this is all in the imagination, people. This is all happening in your mind. You're not actually doing this. I want to be very clear about that. I don't want somebody watching this video, this episode of the show, and being like, I learned how to kill somebody from Ryan and Howard. No, this is all in your mind. All in your mind. But the number 1, run them over with your car, baby. Run them over with your car. You can go forward, then you can back up over them again. If you don't think that you got them the first time, then you do it again. Right in there, and you get to hear the thud. You get to watch it happen. I've mind murdered a number of people with the car. A number of people.
I have people also. I've done that also. I have a thing where I call, if things happen in front of me, like on the road, or like if my car was made of Nerf, I would have just run over this. People like walk across the street and they really just like walk and not take their time, or a car does something stupid like if I could do it, I would just plow into somebody. The important part, I think, of the running over the car is to have a friend with the body shop that's not going to tell on you, because you're probably going to mess up your car. So you can't take it to like the local guy that has blood and teeth and hair on it. You gotta have a friend that's going to fix your car without ratting you out to the cops. So that's important if you're going down this ankle.
Ryan, there's a knuckle in your grill. What the hell's going on here? Don't hit a deer. Deers don't have knuckles.
This one did.
So there you go, folks. Feeling in a dark mood? Yeah, 10 different ways to mind murder somebody. Dismemberment, push them into a wood chipper, stabbing, strangulation, slow poisoning, lock them in the cage for some starvation, just a basic gun to the head, smother them with a pillow, push them off a cliff, run them over with a car. Or, you know what? If you just wanted to do all of the above, we'd accept that too. No doubt about it.
You are a sick mother, but we accept you.
Speaking of sick mothers, let's do me a favor here. Let's bring in our guest tonight. That's right. From Fighting Chance Fantasy, Ryan's good buddy, my good buddy. I've done a couple of podcasts with the two of them before. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Rapin. Steve, what's going on, man? Thanks so much for joining us here on Getting Buzz. Usually, this trio here is the other way around, and it's the three of us on the Fighting Chance podcast. But now Ryan and I get to bring you in here for a little bit of getting buzzed. Are you drinking something pleasurable right now?
I am. It's been a long day. I was mowing the lawn, and first of all, thank you guys for having me on the show. It's been a crazy week getting ready for my daughter's graduation party on Saturday. So I've been working outside all day, but just in time to enjoy a truly tropical punch here. So normally I would be a Jack and Coke guy, but man, working outside all day, sometimes you just need a little foo-foo drink, and it's hitting the spot tonight.
Yeah, Ryan told me you were a Jack and Coke guy. Now I see you with like the boozy seltzer. Right? We had Samantha Praviti on last week, right? And she's a boozy seltzer gal. I never would have taken you for a boozy seltzer gal, Steve.
I'm typically the whiskey guy, but first of all, I'm out of Coke right now. I have to go and get the booze for the graduation party tomorrow. So I'm kind of taking what I can get right now. But, on a hot day, sometimes these seltzers can be pretty darn good. I'm not going to lie. So I'm in touch with my feminine side, and I like my seltzers.
How many does it take to catch a buzz?
35.
42. I've counted.
Even higher than I do.
He's like the owl in the Tootsie Pop drop commercial, right? He's like 1, 2,
42.
42.
Ironically, that's how many drinks it takes to finish it. 1, 2, and then by the third drink, it's gone. These things go down so darn quickly. So
speaking of drinking heavily, Howard's a Yankee fan, and my teams have done pretty well. But you're a Lions and Tigers fan, which really explains the drinking. I know you and I did a podcast for a number of years, and I know, a few years back, you tried to tell me that you gave up on the Lions from the number of times they broke your heart, and I kept telling you, no, you didn't. You're just saying that. So try to, for people who actually root for winning teams, try to explain exactly what it's like to root for two of the worst franchises in either sport.
Well, and let's just, I'm not a huge hockey or NBA fan, but the Red Wings have been among the worst teams in NHL the last few years, and the Pistons haven't been necessarily a very winning team either. So I'll tell you, it's hard, but I think you and I have even had this debate before, Ryan. What's harder, a team where you go into the season with no expectations, or one where you go in with high expectations and then they let you down? And I really do think that when you go into a season with very small expectations, it makes it a little easier. I didn't think the Tigers were going to compete this year. I don't think the Lions are going to compete this year. So honestly, I just go through the season, have enjoy my fantasy rosters and get what I can out of the Lions. It's not easy though, I will say that, but
Well, all right. So interestingly enough, there's obviously one of the most polarizing players right now, whether to draft him or not, is Deandre Swift. Now, listen, if you're just talking about in a vacuum skill set, Deandre Swift, one of the best out there. I absolutely love the kid. But problem that I have is drafting him for fantasy this year. If the Lions aren't going to compete, and listen, you traded for Jared Goff, right? But you didn't. You traded for the draft picks that you got along with Jared Goff. You didn't bring in anything to replace in the wide receiver because you've got Brashad Perriman isn't really going to cut the mustard. Yeah, so you've got a lame duck passing game. Your defense is atrocious.
Way to make him feel better.
I know. I'm a Jets fan. I can't make anybody feel better. The question is would you draft Deandre Swift thinking that he's the only offensive weapon that they really have? So, obviously he's going to be good. Or the other school of thought that if the Lions aren't going to compete at all this year, why would you want to subject the future of your backfield to just sheer punishment and just getting the crap knocked out of them the entire time? So are you into drafting Deandre Swift this year?
I am into drafting him, and I'm going to hit on your last point first about, if the Lions want to use him, because this is basically going to be a lost season anyways. And I think that's why they brought in Jamal Williams, to try to take a little bit of the pressure off of him. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't know if you want Deandre Swift getting, 20, 25 touches a game. I think where he's going to excel this season is in those third down and passing down. But let's be honest, the Lions are going to be playing from behind a lot this season. And I think I think he could really light it up in the PPR leagues with some receptions from them playing from behind. But I do think that Jamal Williams is going to get his fair share in the rushing game as well. But no, to answer your question, I just did a best ball with the guys from the Fantasy Football Hustle, and I took Deandre Swift I can't remember if it was pick 212 or 3-1. It was right at that turn at the the second, third round turn. And I feel that's a good spot to take him, especially if it's a PPR league.
And my only other thought, actually, of you saying there's a lost season this year, it's probably gonna be lost until his rookie deal is over. So there's not like they're competing in 2022. So I mean, chances are. So I mean, I think they might as well use him as long as they got him.
Exactly. Who knows if they'll want to re-sign him at the end, if they're still in this boat, which, let's be honest, they've been in this losing season boat for about the last 30, 40 years. They're not going to want to spend big bucks on a running back in his 4/5th year to go ahead and re-sign him. So why not get the mileage on him and use him right now while they got him?
How much would it hurt you? And I mean like deep, genuine hurt, like maybe sitting in a corner in a dark room kind of crying. Should Matthew Stafford have just an amazing career year with the Rams and they're like immediate contenders and they start crushing it?
No, I hope he does. As a Lions fan, we were actually kind of, I don't want to say we were hoping to get rid of Matt Stafford. We know we weren't going to win a Super Bowl while Matt Stafford was here. And there's nothing but love for Matt Stafford from all the people that I talk to as our Lions fans. So I think you would see Detroit fans here in Michigan root for Matt Stafford should he have a great season. And honestly, they're kind of my de facto second team right now, because you got to have a second team to root for when you're a Lions fan, let's be honest. So the Rams are kind of my second alternate favorite team to root for this season.
That's too funny because mine's Minnesota, actually, right? Like I have an NFC team, and the first game I went to was actually at Shea Stadium in New York, and it was the Jets against the Vikings. And I was kind of pissed at my dad that day, and he was just kind of being the usual douche that he is. And so I started rooting for the Vikings there, like hardcore, with one Vikings fan in the section with us who was getting like peppered with beers the entire time. And there was like him, and then there was me. So the Vikings are my team. Division rivals with you. You guys suck.
I agree. But you know what? I do like what your Jets are doing, though. They have some they have a promising future going on with. I like their head coach that they have coming in. They got some talent on the offensive side of the ball with Carter and Moore and Wilson, and I think they really do have a promising future. Not that I expect them to compete this year, but I can see in a couple years there's a path to victory for this Jets team.
I disagree. Same old Jets. Jets.
You're the same old Ryan.
Just end the season, right?
He's like, he's got my Robert Saleh.
I was upset about that. It's like the worst possible place the guy could have loved. I love Robert Saleh, and like I wanted him to succeed. He was a fantastic defensive coordinator for all places for him to go. Effing Jets, like it's a team. Like I knew a lot of Jets fans growing up. I didn't like most of them, so it made me hate the Jets. And my dad's a Dolphins fan, so that also made me hate the Jets, even though I'm not a Dolphins fan. So. I can't say that I root for your team to succeed, Howard. I'm sorry.
Is your dad from Miami?
No, he's from here, too. I don't know why the hell he started liking the Dolphins. He likes the Dolphins, my brother likes the Cowboys, and I like the 49ers. I have no idea how we got our football teams.
Bunch of front runners in the family, isn't that right? Yeah. Right? Dad was like, the 72 Dolphins, that's great. And then you got a Cowboys fan and a stupid 49ers fan, right? Oh, because in the 90s.
That's why Ryan likes the St. Louis Cardinals, isn't he? He's a front runner.
He's a total front runner. He's a total front runner. You know what? It's all coming together right now.
That's why I came back to Fantasy Alarm. Like, this place is going, so let me get back in on this. The other people put in all the hard work. Let me come in now that it's really successful.
Oh, man.
And you guys do put on a great product. I have to say, I love listening to you guys, to you and Jim Bowden on Sirius XM. You have great content on the site. So you guys really are kicking some major tail there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're
very
welcome.
much. So I don't know if Ryan told you what we were talking about as far as our top 10 list, but he also informed me that you've got a son who's like super into horror movies. So our top 10 list here was
seven now.
What's that?
And
he's 7?
Can you hear? He's 7 now. And 2 years ago, we were out looking for Halloween. We went to like one of those pop-up Halloween shops that they have, the Spirit Halloween or whatever it is. And we're looking for costumes. And all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, Dad, there's a Jason mask. Dad, there's a Freddy mask. Dad, look at," and I'm like, "How do you know all these?" And what happened was this kid, he used to love Halloween, like they on YouTube, they have these Halloween song, like cartoon songs. So he'd watch those, and then they have recommended videos down below, and he kept hitting the recommended videos to the next thing you know, he's watching. I don't think he actually watched the movies, but he knew who all the characters were. I have pictures of him trying on, the Freddy Krueger masks in the Spirit Halloween store. There's one of him laying on the floor in the store studying this Chucky doll like it was homework, this kid was. And so it's amazing. I think the last couple, let's see, he was Slender Man for I think it was his 5th or 6th birthday. He was Slender Man in a badass costume, man. I wish I was
pretty good.
Skinnier, and I would definitely try to wear this same costume. But yeah, he's a piece of work, this kid. I'll tell you what.
I'm telling you, for a while, I really thought the kid was Michael Myers in training. I'm like, I kept asking Steven, like, he hasn't murdered any like small animals yet, has he? Because like that's the first step to like serial killer is, usually killing small animals. And I've never seen a kid that young into horror. Like, what 5-year-old wants to be Slender Man? Like, most people didn't even know that existed. And be Steve like, I'm a spirit again, because Sawyer was like, I have to, like, that was like, he didn't take the kid to the park. He took the kid to Spirit Halloween to look at all the horror creatures.
We have to go 4 or 5 times a year just to walk through the store and look at all the different stuff. There's a reason why for 2 years I locked my bedroom door when I went to bed.
I also love how you said, I was like, you might have watched movies, I'm not sure. So like the parents are not monitoring the screen team up to this child. That's the 3rd child. The parents have clearly given up on this one.
How do you think, if he's gonna take you out one day, Steve, how's he gonna do it? Right? I mean, what would be the way that he would have to pack you in? Is he more in the line of like, got to do it right now with like a full-on stabbing, or is he like maybe thinking, let me do this methodically and like slowly poison my dad?
I think he's the pillow over the head.
I think what he's going to do is, he knows that I have a sweet tooth. So I think he's going to load me up on gummy worms and Skittles and Snickers and Tootsie Rolls. And then he's going to set one of those traps where you walk and it catches your feet and flings you upside down. And then he's going to beat me like a piñata till all candy comes out. I think that's what this kid's going to do.
Wow. We didn't think about that one in the top 10, Howard.
Right? Exactly. You know what? It was so funny. I was just watching, God, my wife had me watching this show, The Blacklist, with James Spader. And the bad guy in that, he zips up people into a heavy bag, and then he just sits there and he just does his workout right there, just beating the crap out of this dude who's like zipped up in the heavy bag and like hanging by his feet.
Oh, I don't remember which one it was, but in one of the Friday the 13th movies, I remember he goes out to the campers and he has one in a sleeping bag and he grabs it by the open end and he picks him up and he hits it against a tree like a baseball bat with a person inside it. That kind of reminds me of that when you say inside a bag, just punching them. Both of them sound like they would be kind of entertaining at times.
If you're not the guy in the bag.
Right. Amen. Amen to that.
Oh, so Steve, for those out there who actually who haven't met you, they haven't heard you on the podcast. I don't know why they would do that, but just tell us a little bit about you involved in the fantasy industry, favorite sport to write about, things that you got going on right now.
Well, I'm over at Fighting Chance Fantasy. You can find all of our stuff there. We have 4 or 5 different podcasts you can find there. I'm taking a little bit of a break from the podcast. We have our fantasy baseball podcast that we kicked off this season. We got some great baseball writers over there at Fighting Chance Fantasy, and I did a lot of the pre-work with the podcast, but now that the season started, I'm letting the young guys take over a little bit. But we have several different podcasts you can find over there. Football's my pride and joy. I love, football and baseball are my main two, but when it comes to writing, football's my passion. So you can find some great football content over there, and we're looking for a fun season coming up this year.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, Steve, with all of our guests, we like to have a little bit of fun. Not that we haven't been having fun already, talking about different ways to murder people. In that spirit, we decided we were going to play a little game with you. We play a game with all of our guests. So today we're going to play a little, I'm going to say this in the PG way and say, we're going to play a little fudge, marry, kill. Right? But it's not fudge.
If you go in a certain area,
you know what we're talking about here. But you know what? In case some small children.
I told you I got a sweet tooth, so we're gonna go with fudge.
Right?
I'm sure you do.
So we're just gonna kind of run through the gamut here of nothing in particular. Like here, I'll start you off because you and I are probably about the same age, aren't we? Right? Yeah,
40s.
What's that?
Mid-40s.
Oh, geez. I don't even know if you're gonna know these people then.
I feel I might be in my mid-40s, but my body says I'm 85. So
that is true. That is 100%.
Mine too. All right, got 3 ladies here. Fudge, marry, kill. Janis Joplin, Grace Slick, or the 1969 version of Cher.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I am going to marry Janis Joplin. I am going to fudge Cher. Man, if I could turn back time. Although I'm probably too old for her right now, I would have to say. I'm probably too old. And then for no particular reason, I think Grace Slick gets the axe. Ways to die. Let's put her on the train tracks and tie her up like Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Wow.
I think she's got to go.
So you just really want to just hear Janis Joplin's sweet voice for the rest of your life?
Right? Just nagging you.
You know what, though? She seems like she would just be a carefree person, and I think I kind of need that. I'm a little bit OCD and structured in my life. I kind of need that person to kind of just be free and get away from my OCD tendencies.
I believe she may have been into the drugs. I'm not sure, but I feel like maybe she may have done some of the drugs.
And
All right.
yeah, well, that might be a positive as well too.
All right, so let's take it from past musicians. Let's go right to cartoons and let's fudge, marry, kill these two. So let's go with Jessica Rabbit, a world famous sexy cartoon. Betty Rubble, back to the 80s, and of course Lois Griffin, a Family Guy, who I think we all can agree is outside of Peter Griffin's league.
I agree. She is. Although her voice might put her down a notch, that voice is just, boy, it's glass on a chalkboard. So I think you have to fudge Jessica Rabbit. I don't think that's really an option there. And I think you're going to marry Betty Rubble. She seems like, she would make a good Tyrannosaurus Rex stew. I think I would look forward to eating that. And with Lois, that voice, I don't think she's going to make the cut there.
Lois always seems to be DTF though, and you got to be happy. It's got to count for something. No.
And it's not like Peter is a catch either.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying.
She's a little frisky for a guy that, man, I don't know. I think she's
What? There are chubby chasers out there, right? My wife is a little bit of a chubby chaser, isn't she? Come on.
Mine too.
So there you go.
Thank goodness. Yeah, gotta love them.
All right. Well, I gave you one for you to enjoy, Steve. Now there's one for your fantasy teams to enjoy. Fudge, marry, kill. Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, A.J. Brown.
I think I'm going to marry Justin Jefferson. This kid, I picked him up for $3 in the Kings Classic auction last season, and man, he kept my team afloat because I spent big on Christian McCaffrey, who, of course, we all know missed a lot of the season, and I picked up Thielen and Justin Jefferson, and they both kind of carried my team. So I got kind of a love affair for him. A.J. Brown, man, I have a huge man crush on that guy. You watch him play, and he is just a beast on that field. So I think I'm going to have to fudge A.J. Brown. That just sounds weird. Man, you guys are making me feel dirty tonight. So, and I guess that leaves Allen Robinson. And I like Allen Robinson. There's nothing against him, but man, for those, the Bears with the lack of a quarterback, hopefully Justin Fields is their answer. But Allen, he's just been one of those guys that's been cursed throughout his season or his career, excuse me, without a good quarterback. So I just hope this guy gets it before he's done. So nothing personal against Allen Robinson, but I guess he's the one that's going to be laying on the railroad tracks.
Right. Well, there you go, guys. A little bit of Steve Rapin. You can find him on Twitter at FantasyGeek37. You can find all of his work over at fightingchancefantasy.com. And yeah, well, I hope you're not a stranger here, Steve. Love to have you back on the show. We'll check in with you a little further into football and see how those teams are doing.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. And like I said, two of my favorite guys in the industry, you guys keep rocking and doing your thing.
Thank you so much. Steve Rapin, everybody, at Fantasy Geek 37. Check him out over on Twitter and Fighting Chance Fantasy. You hear that? That sound right there? You know what that means. Jumping ship a little early. Last call coming up.
Last call. Last call.
Everybody's glorifying this Suns and 4 guy. Barstool Sports tweeted out the video of this dude who was a Suns fan who, beat up this Nuggets fan. And, the problem that I have here right now is fighting at sporting events. It's making me sick. Like I've seen it in the past before. People are morons. They can't hold their liquor. It just seems to be that it's happening more and more. And we've seen Dodgers and Giants fans and the guy who was a Giants fan ended up in the hospital because they beat the crap out of him in the parking lot at Dodger Stadium. We've seen fights take place all over the place. The problem that I'm having even more so now is that it is becoming a lot more prevalent It's hard. The fact that we're glorifying it with like videos and showing it, and I even saw some jackass had an Etsy store with a Sons and Four guy T-shirt. Yeah, I get right. Like we usually do. What were they thinking? Like what the fuck was this person thinking? Drives me up a wall. We're just coming out of a pandemic. We're just getting back to full capacity. Dodger Stadium, Citi Field, like the arenas are starting to be allowed to fill up again, and it's much more prevalent now with the fights that it drives me up a wall. Like, why would I want to go to a sporting event knowing that I could just be like sitting there and these jackasses next to me could end up getting into a fight? Like, forget about me. What about the father of two girls who brings them to a football game because they just want to hang out with dad and go see a football game? Like, how do you do that? I mean, it makes me sick. It really does. I don't know how to deal with that, man.
I mean, it used to be like the worst thing, you'd like get next to someone who just like swore a lot. It was like, F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb. It's like, hey, kids around or whatever. But you're right. This is getting out of control. And I think some of it is probably remnants of the pandemic and being out of stadiums for so long. And honestly, being away from other people for so long. I think there's also so many people who are just like jacked up and ready to fight about anything. I mean, we've seen people fighting in supermarkets, fighting at gas stations, like everyone is just like so on edge over the past year. I think it's spilling into stadiums, and it is a problem. And I do think that there are going to be some people that will shy away from taking kids to stadiums because, and we're seeing fans spit on athletes, dump popcorn on athletes. Like everyone has just forgotten how to act in the past year or so. I hope it comes back to some sort of normalcy or kind of what it used to be. I'm sure not ready to head to a stadium as of now with my kids. I'd love to go to a baseball game at some point this year down at Citi Field or maybe Yankee Stadium. But you definitely have to be on the lookout for something like this. If punches fly, beer flies, like you don't know what's going to happen, and people got to get their shit together and start remembering how to act like people again.
Right, bunch of animals, bunch of friggin' animals. It drives me. It's nuts, and I think you're right. Obviously, people being cooped up in the pandemic, this and that. But and it's just, I mean, it's so funny, right? I don't know what's worse, the keyboard warriors who torment people online because there's there's no repercussions, or the idiots who start fights in the they try to intimidate out in public, and it's just. All I can say is I wish the world, and I hope the world cleans it up a little bit, Like, just have respect for other people next to you. Understand, listen, it's just talk. I don't give a crap if somebody's team is better than my team. They want to say something about my mother. I don't give a shit. There's no reason. Listen, I grew up in New York City. I know how to fight. I've been in a number of fights in my life. I've won and I've lost. Been on both ends of it. It's never good, right? I don't mean to quote Roadhouse and say no one wins a fight. Right? Yeah, I knew you'd like that one. But the bottom line is that it's true. Nobody does. And whether if you win the fight, you look like a jackass for doing it. You put other people at risk, especially if you're doing it indoors in a stadium like that. It's just class it up a little bit. That's really what it comes down to. Learn how to respect the person next to you. Learn how to, at least coexist without having to fight. You don't have to fucking talk to the person, right? You don't have to talk to them at all. You can still sit in the same section there. And listen, if they're cheering on their team, so what? Screw it. It's not worth the argument. It's not worth the fight. So, and that's really all I wanted to kind of say about that, Ryan. How about you?
And I don't understand the people who get alcohol in them and want to fight. Like, I'm a pretty happy drunk. I know we can go back to the first episode of the show and whatever, but if I drank a lot and it made me want to fight somebody, I don't know that I would do it. I don't understand. I don't understand Wyatt just draws rage, and I don't know what you get out of it. And like that Nuggets fan and the Suns fan, the Suns guy just kind of defended himself, and then at least like put a good showing for yourself. The one guy just kind of like stood there and took it. It was like that video game Double Dragon, and the guy just kept like uppercut and like. I mean, you came to a fight, and then you weren't.
Have you ever been hit like that?
I've never been in a fight in my life, to be honest.
Okay,
I just don't. I don't see the point in it.
He hit that guy with that first uppercut. That guy was done. He could barely stand up. He had him. He could barely stand up. That's why when you duck and cover, because you start getting like crazy disoriented, and it's just your instinct just to turtle. So hoping that you're not going to get any more damage done to you. And I mean, it was just, it's a horrible thing. It really is. And it's just, ugh.
There's no
just want people to just be nicer to each other. That's my message, I guess. There's really no reason to fight. Yeah. Cheers to that one. And that's going to do it for us here on Getting Buzz. Big thanks to Ryan. Big thanks to my producer, Matt Sells. Again, big thanks to Steve Rapin for joining us. I'm Howard Bender. This is Getting Buzzed. We'll catch you next time.